Bentley, and I will be speaking to you today. The first question I have is, have you ever wondered how a diabetic safely exercises, or even how blood glucose levels are affected by exercise? First, to understand how exercise affects blood glucose levels, you must understand what diabetes is. Diabetes is an autoimmune disease that millions of people struggle with every day. An autoimmune disease is a disease where the body attacks itself. There are two types of diabetes, type 1 and type 2. Type 2 diabetes is more commonly found, and it's mostly found in people over 30 and has a lot to do with being overweight. This is when the pancreas attacks itself and doesn't make as much insulin. It still makes insulin, but not as much as it used to. This disease can also be monitored with medication, a good diet, and exercise. Type 1 diabetes is when the pancreas stops making insulin altogether. It's mostly found in children and teens. And Dr. Kuo of the University of Tennessee says only in between 1 and 10% of all diabetics have type 1 diabetes, so it's more rare than type 2 diabetes. Normal ranges of blood glucose levels range from anywhere from 60 to 100, and a diabetic usually can check their insulin, their blood glucose levels, with a blood glucose monitor. And also, type 1 diabetics must use insulin, and this can be done with an insulin pump or just needles altogether and insulin, vials of insulin. An insulin pump actually connects to their side, and they manually enter their insulin themselves. Type 1 diabetes is something I'm very familiar with. It's in my family, and I'm used to being around this, and it's something I'm very interested in learning about too. In a normal healthy body, when blood glucose levels rise, insulin is produced. And when blood glucose levels decrease, glucose is produced. And for type 1 diabetes, this doesn't happen at all. A type 1 diabetic has to manually enter insulin themselves every time. In type 2 diabetics, the pancreas does make insulin, but not enough all the time, so they have to use medication, good diet, and exercise. Exercise is a big part of maintaining diabetes, type 1 or type 2. Types of exercise that helps diabetes is things like walking, aerobic exercises, or even running. In most cases, when a diabetic exercises, their blood glucose levels went down. A big thing with exercise and diabetes is, or for anyone, your muscles need glucose to make energy to exercise. In some cases, blood glucose levels actually rise for diabetics after exercise, and most of the time this happens if the diabetic has high blood glucose levels before they exercise, and this is when your body is pouring glucose into the bloodstream and there's not enough insulin to unlock the door to your muscles, so therefore your glucose backs up in your bloodstream and your blood glucose levels are actually much higher after exercise, and this is unhealthy. So some safe ways to exercise as a diabetic is to definitely check your blood glucose levels before, during if you're feeling uncomfortable, and even after exercise. And another thing is to drink plenty of water. I hope you enjoyed this on how exercise affects blood glucose levels in type 1 diabetes. Thank you.